First at 5, breaking new developments. The judge in the Mark Sievers murder trial wasn't very happy with what was going on outside of his courtroom. Thanks for joining us. I'm Shari Armstrong. Right now, we are going to send it out to Fox 4 anchor Jane Monreal at the Lee County Courthouse to explain what happened. And Jane, what do we know this afternoon?
Shari, it all happened this morning. The judge became aware of an incident that happened yesterday where someone without permission was videoing people, witnesses, coming out of the courtroom. Want to bring in our legal expert right now from FGCU, criminal justice professor Dr. Pamela C. Let's talk about this private investigator hired, apparently, a videographer, and we as media folks have permission to videotape. We got that permission beforehand, but apparently this person did not, and they became aware of it.
And one thing that's important, when you walk into that courthouse, it's very clear. The signs tell you there is no videotaping. You're not allowed to do that unless you have the appropriate permission. Now, Fox 4 has that permission. Others may have that permission. This particular gentleman did not. In fact, he's coming up right now. If we look to our left.
Yes, he is. Okay, so let's throw to the soundbite the exchange between the judge and the private investigator.
Why were you having people taped outside of my courtroom the other day?
We were concerned about a threat that had been made a couple of days before Thanksgiving.
What would that have to do with taping people coming outside of my courtroom, including witnesses? You didn't have permission, did you?
I was not aware, Your Honor, that it was not permissible.
People did you record?
I don't know.
Who's the gentleman who did it?
It is one of our technical guys.
He needs to be here by the end of the day.
Talk about the second time around now, the second go-round when the private investigator addressed the judge later on this afternoon.
Your Honor, we frequently video in the lobby to see witness reactions and things like that. And
not that I'm aware of. This is the first I've ever had it happen, and I've been a judge for 12 years. At least it's the first time it's been reported to me, and my staff's pretty good.
Yeah. Many times, we're all putting a investigator out in the lobby, just like the state does with their investigators. They have them.
They don't videotape people.
Yeah. No, they don't. And I understand the videotaping.
Who's paying for this?
And so, Pam, what can this mean then for a trial? Because the judge referring to then the perception of how the jury can see this action happening.
Well, fortunately, the jury is not aware of this because the communications between the judge and Mr. Olson and the judge and the private investigator took place outside of the view of the jury. So that's an advantage. However, those witnesses were aware of what was happening. And if they were intimidated by this in any fashion, that could be a problem. And that's really what the judge was trying to protect those witnesses from. There's also some concern on the part of the freedom of access, because a courthouse, a courtroom, that's a public place. You should be able to access that. And to exclude a single person or a couple of people from that location, that's problematic.
Right.
But I think the judge is on solid ground in doing so.
Okay. And I mean, is this cause for any kind of mistrial or moving ahead?
It might be some grounds for a possible appeal, depending on how it affected the witnesses and which witnesses were involved. So, is it possible? Yes, it might be. Were they videotaped before or after their testimony? And right now, we don't have that information. If these people were videotaped before their testimony, that could be very problematic, and it could be grounds for an appeal.
All right, that should be interesting. We'll have more at 5:30, as well as recapping the day's events. Of course, both the state and defense presented their closing arguments today. The jury now in deliberations. For Dr. Pamela C., I'm Jane Monreal. We're live outside the Lee County Courthouse. Fox 4 in your corner.